There is a certain kind of person in this world whom most people never truly notice, not because they are insignificant, but because they move differently. They don't chase crowds, they don't perform for applause, and they do not bend themselves to fit into spaces that weren't built for them. These are the people with few or no friends, and what many misunderstand as weakness is often a sign of deep, extraordinary strength. We live in a time where friendship is measured in follower counts and validation is earned by how loudly you exist online. You are expected to be available, visible, and constantly connected. And so, when someone chooses solitude, or when life naturally places them in it, the world often rushes to assume something must be wrong. But what if the opposite is true? What if the individuals who walk alone are actually the ones who have evolved beyond the noise? Think about this for a moment. Some of the greatest minds in human history were loners, not because they despised people, but because they saw and felt life on a deeper frequency. They weren't interested in shallow conversations, forced connections, or performative friendships. They were searching for truth, inner truth, outer truth, the truth of existence, and that journey rarely happens in a crowded room. Today, we are going to explore something that most people never dare to admit, that having few or no friends can reveal a rare kind of power, a kind that society never teaches you to recognize, a kind that grows quietly in the background without applause, without external approval. The first trait that defines many people with small social circles is authenticity, and not the cliché, social media version of the word, but the raw, uncompromising, unfiltered truth of being who you really are. Most people shapeshift. They bite their tongue, hide their opinions, and distort themselves just to maintain relationships. They fear rejection more than they fear losing themselves. But those who walk alone often don't play that game. They don't dilute their essence to make others more comfortable. They don't trade their identity for popularity. They don't pretend. And in a world built on imitation, the courage to be real is revolutionary. Marcus Aurelius once said that virtue begins when we stop living for the approval of others. Loners, the true ones, live this philosophy naturally. They pay a price for it, yes, but it is a price that refines them. Where others follow trends, they follow truth. Where others seek crowds, they seek clarity. And where others cling to belonging, they cling to themselves. And that is where their strength begins. If authenticity is the foundation, then independence is the fortress built on top of it. People with few or no friends often develop a level of inner strength that feels almost foreign in today's world. It's not arrogance, it's not coldness, it's the simple reality that they have learned to stand firmly inside their own life, without using anyone else as a crutch. Look around for a moment. Look at how many people cannot spend a single evening alone without feeling restless. Look at how many need constant conversations, constant reassurance, constant noise just to feel like they exist. Look at how many crumble the moment external validation disappears. We live in a society that conditions people to depend on others for their identity. But those who walk alone, they carry something different inside them. They have learned, often through difficulty, that their happiness cannot be outsourced. They have discovered an inner source of clarity, motivation, and purpose that does not rise and fall with someone else's approval. This type of independence is rare because it is forged, not gifted. It comes from nights when no one checked up on you, from decisions you had to make on your own, from challenges you had to face without a support system, from the silent realization that your life belongs to you and no one else. While many people build their personality around who they want to impress, you build yours around who you want to become. While others are pulled in every direction by social obligations, you move according to your own internal compass. And while others fear solitude, you use it to sharpen your mind and steady your spirit. Independence is not the absence of people. It is the presence of strength. And here is the part most people never understand. When you rely on yourself, you become free. Free to think differently. Free to live differently. Free to choose differently. Free to grow without asking for permission. The world admires independence from afar, but fears the path that creates it. Because to become independent, you must first experience loneliness, and instead of running from it, you learned from it. You turned it into fuel. This is why people who have few friends move through life with a quiet confidence. They trust their decisions because they've made them alone. They trust their path because they've walked it without applause. And they trust themselves because they've proven, time and time again, that they can rely on their own strength. That is not loneliness. That is mastery. There is a third trait that quietly separates people with few friends from the rest of the world: selectivity. And this may be the point where most outsiders misunderstand them entirely, because on the surface, it looks like isolation. But in reality, it is discernment. Most people accept anyone into their lives simply to avoid being alone. They tolerate shallow conversations, draining relationships, and connections that do nothing but take up emotional space. They cling to people who do not nourish them, simply because the silence feels scarier than the noise. But for the select few, the ones with small circles, this is not how they operate. They do not collect people like souvenirs. They do not form friendships out of convenience. They do not allow just anyone to occupy their emotional world. Their social circle is not empty. It is filtered. Having few friends doesn't mean you can't make connections. It means you refuse to entertain connections that don't align with your values. It means you've learned that peace is more important than company. It means your standards are high, not because you think you're better, but because you have learned the cost of allowing the wrong people into your life. A top chef doesn't fill his kitchen with ingredients just to make it look full. He chooses only what is rare, fresh, powerful, and meaningful. That is how those with few friends treat human relationships, not as decoration, but as nourishment, and they would rather have nothing than something that diminishes them. But this selectivity leads to something even more profound, the fourth trait: introspection. When you spend more time alone, life stops moving horizontally and begins moving vertically. Instead of spreading your energy across dozens of relationships, you begin sinking deeper into your own inner world. You start exploring the corners of your mind that most people never notice because they are too busy chasing distraction. Most people live outside of themselves, in trends, opinions, gossip, endless social scrolling. They are leaves in the wind, blown around by whatever the crowd is doing. But those who walk alone, they have built an entire world within themselves, a private landscape most people never develop. When you're not constantly surrounded by others, you learn to listen to yourself. You learn to study your motives, your desires, your fears, your behavior. You learn emotional honesty. You learn to see your mind as clearly as you see your reflection in the mirror. This is why solitude can be a superpower. It forces you inward, and inward is where the real answers live. Marcus Aurelius wrote entire books to himself because he understood that the inner world is the source of all clarity, strength, and moral direction. You too have learned this, not by reading a philosophy textbook, but by living it. And this brings us to the final trait, the one that transforms solitude into something sacred: growth. People with few friends often reach a level of awareness that others simply don't. Not because they're inherently superior, but because they've spent time developing the one relationship that matters most, the relationship with themselves. While the world chases stimulation, you chase understanding. While the world fears silence, you use silence to evolve. While the world follows the crowd, you follow your own mountain path. And from that height, you see things differently. You see patterns others miss. You see truths others cannot face. You see meaning where others see boredom. You see potential where others see empty space. This growth is not accidental. It is earned. Every quiet night, every tough decision, every moment where you stood alone while others clung to their groups, it all sharpened you. It forged wisdom, emotional depth, resilience, and spiritual awareness. People with few friends often become the observers of life, the ones who understand human nature more clearly than those surrounded by noise. They become the thinkers, the creators, the introspective souls who bring something deeper into a world obsessed with surface-level distractions. And here's the truth you may not hear often. You are not behind. You are not deficient. You are not missing out. You are growing in a direction that fewer and fewer people are capable of following. You've chosen conscious evolution over unconscious conformity. You've chosen quality over quantity. You've chosen inner power over outer approval. And that makes you part of a rare group. A quiet, unseen group, but a powerful one. A group of individuals who will impact the world in ways the crowd cannot understand, because the crowd never learned how to be alone long enough to meet themselves. Your solitude is not a punishment. It is a path not many walk, a path not many can walk. But those who do emerge wiser, stronger, and more complete than they ever imagined. So if these words resonate with you, if you see yourself reflected in these traits, then understand this. You are not alone in your loneliness. You are part of a lineage of thinkers, creators, philosophers, visionaries, and deeply feeling souls who chose the road fewer walk, not because it was easier, but because it was real. And that is a kind of strength the world desperately needs. Before you go, I want to leave you with something deeper than a summary, something human. Because if you are here, if you are still listening, then I know something about you. You are not the kind of person who seeks noise. You are the kind of person who seeks meaning, and people like you rarely hear the words they deserve. So let me say this clearly, there is nothing wrong with you. In fact, there is something profoundly right. You are living in a world that worships popularity, but forgets purpose. A world that confuses being surrounded with being understood. A world where countless people laugh together, but very few truly know themselves. And somehow, without textbooks, without guidance, without permission, you found your own path in the quiet. You learned to be comfortable with your own company, which is one of the highest forms of strength. You learned to listen to your inner world, which is one of the highest forms of intelligence. You learned to choose your relationships intentionally, which is one of the highest forms of wisdom. And you did all of this while others sprinted toward crowds just to avoid facing themselves. Do you realize how rare you are? There are people who spend their entire lives chasing approval, people who crumble the moment they're alone, people who never learn to think for themselves because the group always thinks for them. But you, whether by choice or by circumstance, have discovered something precious. The person you are in solitude is your truest self. That version of you is unfiltered, undistracted, and undeniably real. That version of you is not shaped by opinions, gossip, or trends. That version of you is powerful in a way most people will never experience. This doesn't mean you are destined to be alone forever. It doesn't mean you don't deserve connection. It means that when the right people do enter your life, they will be chosen, not collected, earned, not stumbled into, aligned, not convenient. You will build a life not with many, but with the few who truly see you. And until then, or even after then, your solitude is not a void. It is a sanctuary, a training ground, a birthplace of clarity, creativity, and inner strength. If this message felt like it was speaking directly to you, it's because it was. And I want you to know something else. You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not drifting through life unnoticed. You are part of a quiet tribe. The rare individuals who grow deeper instead of louder, who build inward instead of outward, who choose truth over conformity. And the world may not always applaud that, but it will always need it. So take a breath, stand a little taller, and walk your path knowing this. You are exactly who you're meant to be. If this touched you, share it with someone who also walks alone, someone who may need to hear that their solitude is not emptiness, but evolution. And if you want more messages like this, more clarity, more wisdom, more lessons for the soul, you're welcome to stay. I'm grateful you're here.